welcome back to another episode of Paperback Ponderings. I'm not going to say it's an exciting one, even though it is, but I recognize that I just bore you all with the same intro every single time.
No, you're exciting us by saying it's exciting. You're getting us going.
But if it's always exciting, it's never exciting.
Well, yeah, that's a good point too. I'm always excited.
Me too, actually. But this week, we are going to cover our favorite books from March. Cannot believe March is already over. Kind of gobsmacked at the fact that we are officially one quarter through 2026.
Yeah.
Bananaramas.
Yeah, very crazy.
Bananaramas. But yeah, we're super excited to talk to you about our books from this month. Sarah is officially out of, and yes, I just referred to myself in the third person, officially out of a book slump, which means we actually have books to talk about, or at least I do anyway, which is super exciting.
Yay.
And Kyla is going to take us away with her first book. As always, there are no spoilers here. This is simply a general description of the book, what we rated it, what we thought about it, if we liked it, why we liked it, and all that stuff. Kyla, take us away.
All right, so my first book of March was Vows Ruins by Helen Scheuer. This is the sequel to Blood and Steel, which has a 4.19 out of 109,000 ratings on Goodreads. This is book one in the Legends of Thesmar series. And book two has a 4.05 out of 74,000 ratings. So they're both sitting pretty up there. And if you're not familiar with the series, book one follows Althea Zoltaire, whose death has been foretold. So she only has 3 years left to live and to become the warrior legend that she has always dreamed of being. In her kingdom, women are forbidden to wield blades because of a prophecy that basically states that a woman with a blade will bring the downfall of everything. So Thea has been forced to train in secret her entire life. But now, with only 3 years left to live, she approaches the king for permission to train with the other new trainees to become a warrior and protect their kingdom, all the while fighting against her growing attraction to the legendary war sword Wilder Hawthorne. So, if anybody's been around for a while, we had Blood and Steel as our book club book last February, I think it was. It's been about a year now, and I had some mixed feelings about Blood and Steel. Like, I thought it was a really fun time, but the romance, some things just didn't click for me. And so I finally came back to book two this year, this time on audio format. I gave Vows Ruins a 3.75. So Sarah always laughs at me for giving 0.75s.
Yeah.
But sometimes
I'm still getting used to the 0.5s. The 0.75s is like, oh, wow.
I know. You know what? I used to look at people who would do the 0.25s and the 0.75s on Goodreads and be like, just pick, like, just round it in either way. But now I'm one of those people, and sometimes I just can't bring it higher than that. In this case, like, it just didn't feel quite like a 4. This second book in the series felt very much like a filler book to me. I still liked it. I was entertained while listening to it, but it felt very kind of slow and meandery. Nothing was really happening. There was like some minor developments in terms of the plot. It did have a pretty intriguing ending. There was a bit of a development that was unexpected somewhat. So yeah, I had fun listening to it, but it was a filler book. With the audio format, I struggled with Thea and Wilder in the first book, but in book two with the audio, it was dual narration, not duet. So we have the female narrator doing Wilder's voice in her perspective and vice versa, which
we know how you feel about that.
It doesn't work for me. And yeah, it wasn't too bad in this one. Like, there was one later this month that I disliked more. We'll get to that, but yeah, so that kind of affected it for me.
Super fair. This is one that, like, it has all the recipe, like all of the like elements of a potentially really great book. There's no real reason why I couldn't get into this one. I think I'm still at like 50% of it or something. I just never picked it back up.
Yeah, I feel the exact same way. Like, it has all of the elements to be an amazing series, and I understand why so many people have given it such a high rating, but just for me, something is not clicking.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the characters, maybe it's the story. The whole idea of a woman wielding a blade is what like ends the world is just such a weak premise to me. I don't know. There needed to be more, or at least more conveyed to me to understand, you know?
Yeah, well, and then they fully like let her wield a blade, and so it's like, what is the point of the restriction?
Yeah.
But also, I will say this book, like I said, it was a filler in terms of plot. It was also just a large portion of it was just spice, like to the point where I was like, okay, let's keep going. I don't care this much. When you're already not invested in the romance, it's kind of hard to care when the spice happens.
Well, also I feel like the tension between them was kind of difficult to like get on board with, because there was a lot of push and pull, but for reasons that really felt like not good enough.
Yeah, it was very superficial, very lust-driven attraction and romance, which just didn't have the depth.
And the reason that they couldn't be together, like the reasons that kind of culminated, is like, well, this is a little bit silly because you keep doing the same things. It's like watching a toxic relationship in the same cycles. Not that this character relationship was toxic, but it's like you keep doing the same thing expecting a different result. Like, yeah, there's only so many times we can do this, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, all of that said, like, the ending it did end on an intriguing note, and I'm determined to make my way through the series eventually because I want to read the follow-up series. I want to read The Ashes of Thesmar, so yeah, I'll probably end up listening to the rest of the audiobooks eventually, but I'm just not really in a rush to do so. It'll be like when I have nothing else to listen to.
Yeah, like a filler pursuit for you.
Yeah.
You've got a break in the TBR kind of thing.
Exactly, which doesn't happen often, but
yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah, fair enough.
What was your first book of the month?
Yeah, so mine surprised me simply because I did not mean to listen to it. I did listen to it on audiobook, and I really only did so because it was available through Skip the Line, and I had heard of it. So I was like, maybe the world is telling me to pursue this audiobook. And I did, and I devoured it. It is Rose in Chains by Julie Soto. It's book number 1 of the Evermore trilogy, and it's actually a traditionally published version of a fanfic called The Auction, which you may have heard Kyla ranting and raving about over the last couple of months, because it is a Dramini fanfic based story. Shocking that I not only listened to it, but like obsessively listened to it, could not stop, finished it in a day.
Not shocking to me, but
I know, it's not shocking to you. I was surprised. I was very surprised. This book is currently at a 4.16 out of 74,000 ratings, and it was actually nominated for Reader's Favorite Romantasy. And this story follows our female main character, Bryony Rosewood, who is the heir, or one of the heirs, to the Eversons kingdom. This is a world that's divided into kind of like 2 sects. So we've got the Eversons, who practice mind magic, and then we have the Bomard sons, who practice heart magic. So very different kind of ideologies, and a world split in 2. And in these worlds, they've constantly been at war, and in order to amalgamate the societies, I suppose, the people in charge decide to send their children to the same school. So Bryony and her twin brother and a bunch of Bomard sons are sent to the same school to be raised and to learn the magics of their own crafts, but also learn a little bit about the neighboring country and the way that they practice magic. So this is the world that they're operating in. And we get a little bit of a like back and forth between present day and the past. So Bryony's experience at school with the people who are now taking over her kingdom, because modern day in the books starts out with the fall of the Eversons and the collapse of the Mind Magic's kind of like society in favor of the Beaumont sons. So they are essentially taking over. Bryony's father is dead, her brother is dead, and she is held captive by the enemy, who have decided that all of the women from the Eversons can be used to hone the magic of the Beaumont sons. So all of the women are gathered up in the fall or the collapse of the Everson society, or the Eversons kind of like kingdom, I suppose. And they are auctioned off to high-ranking Beaumont sons. And they are given to the enemy essentially as slaves. Which is really intense. Sexual slaves, actually, because there's a specific kind of magic that is only really unlocked in the transference, or is only really transferred through like pleasure. And typically it needs to be consensual to be able to unlock this power. But some things are happening. Some evolutions are evolutionizing.
Okay.
So this is the world that Bryony is kind of dropped into, and being the most sought after Everson, she is sold at an immense price to a morally questionable character. Enter male main character Tovin, who is among the high-ranking Beaumont son and actually very wealthy. His father made a pretty significant name for himself in the Beaumont son society, and he uses heart magic. He's a very accomplished heart magician. And Bryony has like a really complicated past with Tovin, because they grew up on opposite sides of a conflict, but were forced together during school, and arguably had like a very strong, I wouldn't say attraction, but like a draw to each other. There's a history there. And Bryony's not really sure if she can trust Tovin or what Tovin's motivations are in buying Bryony, other than, again, he spends a ridiculous amount of money to acquire her. So they are operating in a very militant kind of like authoritarian society under the rule of a pretty messed up lady. I forget her name now. But this story is essentially them navigating survival within the confines of this new world order. It got a 5-star.
Yay!
Yeah, big fan. Really can't wait till the second book comes out. Like, it didn't end on a cliffhanger, but I'm definitely like, what next for our main characters here? Like, what is going on, you know?
Yeah.
And there was a bit of a cliffhanger, even though like the revelation at the end of the story wasn't a surprise to me. I was like, yeah, well, duh.
But you're still invested.
Oh, 100,000%. Like, I'm still incredibly invested. Will read the next one. Hoping the next one comes out like ASAP Rocky, because I'm just like dreading living my life without it.
It's set for December.
Yeah, 2026. So hopefully they stay on track.
Yes.
And they deliver on December 2026. Because yeah, I gotta know what's going on. I'm very nervous for the future of our characters. And I'm just obsessed with like the question marks around Tovin. You know?
Yes. I say I know, but I'm really basing that off of just my knowledge of the fanfic version. But I feel like I have a pretty good understanding of what's going on. Maybe. Will confirm when I actually get around to reading Rose in Chains, but...
Yeah, I'm sure it's very similar to the auction. Like, I'm sure it's, for the most part, the same, of course, with the obligatory updates to the names and certain elements of the story. I did also like the heart magic versus mind magic. Like, I thought that was interesting. The flashbacks to them, like, in school were really fun to go back to. So, yeah, overall, like, really loved this story.
Nice. Okay. Did you feel like you could see the Hermione roots, the Harry Potter roots, or going into it, like, because you knew that they were there, or did it feel totally new?
I don't have a baseline for the Dramini like roots, so it did feel like a unique story to me.
Okay.
The school flashbacks kind of, but like Draco was never, in my opinion, very accomplished, whereas Tovin is like quietly the best in his class for heart magic usage.
Fanfic Draco is always also top of class.
The best?
Yes. It's always like depicted as, Hermione is number one and he is kind of just below her, and it's kind of expected of him to be top of class, and there's a frustration that this Muggle girl is top of class, and who is she and where did she even come from, kind of thing. And so there's a bit of an academic rivalry history that's never obviously touched on in the books, because you don't get either of their perspectives in Harry Potter. But
yeah, true. Okay.
But yeah, not to go too far down that road, but I'm really happy that you liked Rose in Chains.
Yeah, I loved listening to it. It was probably my favorite book this month.
Okay, amazing. I was going to ask you that at the end, what your favorite book of the month was, so noted.
What is next for you?
Next up for me was Firebird and Bloodsinger by Juliet Cross. So Sarah and I actually had the pleasure of interviewing Juliet Cross this month. The interview will be coming out a few weeks from now, so you don't have too much longer to wait. But in preparation for that, we were reading the 2 books in the series. So far, we had an arc of Bloodsinger, which comes out April 28th. And Firebird, the first book in the series, has a 3.69 out of 15,000 ratings on Goodreads. And if you're not familiar with Firebird and Bloodsinger, the series is set in a world that's inspired by ancient Rome, but if all of the noble-blooded Romans were dragon shifters, which is such a fun concept. And the first book in the series, Firebird, follows Julian, who is a general in the Roman army, and he's known as the cold-hearted conqueror. He also happens to be the nephew to the emperor. But after one battle, he sees a Dacian woman from the defeated enemy's side being held captive by one of his men, and he recognizes her from a night a few years prior where he watched her dance on stage in kind of like a traveling troupe performance. And when he watched her, he was totally captivated by her beauty and spoke to her briefly afterwards, but then they went their separate ways and haven't seen each other. But he's kind of never forgotten her, and when he sees her on the battlefield about to be harmed by one of his men, just instinctively he shifts into dragon form and flies her away to his home, where by the Roman law at the time, she becomes his slave. But she actually remembers him too from that night a couple years ago. So even though she should be afraid to be newly enslaved in the heart of the Roman Empire by a dragon shifter who could kill her very easily, she is not as afraid as she should be, and she actually feels drawn to him. So really fun story, and Bloodsinger book 2 is a continuation of the plot of this story, but it follows different main characters and it has a different central romance. So the plot is continuing, but the characters are new. So series of standalones, kind of. You have to read them in order, definitely, because the plot is progressing from book 1. But yeah, just really fun series. The romance was really captivating. The setting, she did the ancient Rome setting so well. It is called Rome in the story, but it's not obviously a fully factual representation of Rome, but she was pretty true to a lot of the history in the world that she built. So yeah, if you like that ancient Rome setting, this is definitely a good one.
Yeah, it did very much feel like you were transported and there was just like the fantasy overlay, which was kind of fun.
Yeah.
You got to keep the historical significance of where the environment would have been at that time in terms of like food and the settings and the homes and the descriptions of the markets, etc., etc. So it was fun. It was a really good read. Super excited for Bloodsinger to officially be out, and in general for like the future of this series.
Yeah, I found that Bloodsinger got even deeper on the character work too, which was great. We had a little expansion of the world, so High expectations for book 3. I think it's going to be a good time.
I'm so intrigued. I know we're not doing spoilers right now, but like, y'all should check it out.
We are zipped tight. But if anybody's read Bloodsinger or Firebird, I guess Bloodsinger's not out yet, but if you've read Firebird and you liked it, reach out to us because we want to talk more about it. What was your next one?
Yeah, so next on my list was Game Changers number 3, the third book in the Game Changers series. This is the Heated Rivalry books, if you recall, from the series that came out in December and blew up the world. Yes. So this is the one after Heated Rivalry. It's kind of similar in the sense that we get a sneak peek at our favorite duo, Shane and Ilya, but we are not following their story in this story. I don't know if I said it, but it is Tough Guy by Rachel Reed. I don't think I actually said the book name.
That's okay.
But I listened to Tough Guy by Rachel Reed, currently sitting at a 3.61 out of 93,000 ratings. And this story is a male-male hockey romance, similar to what we saw in Heated Rivalry. But this one follows male hockey player Ryan, who is the enforcer on his team. He is the fella who's tasked with protecting the talent on the hockey teams. So he basically just fights for a living. And he also happens to be gay.
Wait, he's protecting the talent? Like is he a player on the team?
Yeah, he's a player on the team, but he's not like there to score. He's kind of got this like rap for like a fighter, and he's there to like beat people up when they're trying to roughhouse with like the scorers, you know?
Okay, I see.
Yeah. So he's got a reputation, and he's traded quite a bit because of his reputation. So he's lived in a lot of different cities, and he's relatively like kept to himself on all of his teams. So when he moved back to Toronto, he wasn't really expecting to make friends on the team. And he was coming out of like a pretty significant mental breakdown. So he was just keeping to himself. He was kind of lonely. He was gay, openly gay, but he isn't the best player on the team. So nobody's really like paying too much attention to what he's doing, kind of thing.
Right.
Like he has the freedom to be openly gay in a quiet way, I suppose.
Okay.
In a super male dominated kind of like misogynistic environment.
Right.
And so when he moves back to Toronto, he buys a flat in the LGBTQ village so that he can feel a little closer to that part of his identity. And he meets a person from his past called Fabian, who is actually the son of the family that Ryan had billeted with when he was a teenager playing hockey in Halifax.
Okay.
Yeah, so they rekindle a connection from their childhood, and they get to know each other as adults in the post-childhood kind of era of their lives, and they fall in love with some bumps along the way. Naturally, yeah. But it was super fun. I would say it wasn't as good as Heated Rivalry. I do think like the third act breakup, the reason for the third act breakup was like not as appealing, I suppose.
Third act breakups are never fun to begin with. So it's like the reason has to be appealing to kind of put up with it.
Yeah, and it has to build up to it. Like it has to like not necessarily be expected, but it has to be a believable reason for the couple not being together in some capacity. Mm-hmm. But I did like that Ryan wasn't your typical expectation for what like the enforcer would be on a hockey team. He was a big dude, like a huge redhead with a reputation for being violent, but really he was like kind of a teddy bear, and he didn't love having the identity that he had. It was more kind of like pushed on him because he had a natural aptitude towards fighting,
right.
And he was a big fella. So yeah, it was a good book. We did get to see a little bit of Ilya, which is super fun. We did get a little
Okay.
peek. We kind of hear what Shane and Ilya are up to through the grapevine of the hockey community. So it was overall like a fun, easy read, but I definitely liked Game Changers #2 more. And I'm probably biased because I really like the show. So
That's fair. Do you plan to continue the series now?
yeah, I think I will. Like, I'll carry on with listening to the books when they come available, but I'm not necessarily like hardcore pursuing them, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of just like an
Casual
easy
dalliance.
listen. Yeah. A casual dalliance. Yeah. What's next for you?
Next for me is The Witch Collector by Charissa Weeks. And this one, if you have been around, you'll know that this was one of Sarah's top reads of 2025. So I was very excited to try this one out after the raving, and I got the chance to listen to the audiobook, which was super exciting. So this one has a 3.73 out of 65,000 ratings on Goodreads, and it follows a girl named Reyna, and every harvest moon, the witch collector visits her village and takes one of the witches back to the immortal Frost King's palace, where they will remain forever. And this year, Reyna plans to exact her revenge on the witch collector by killing him for taking her own sister away several years ago. But before she has a chance to act, her village is attacked by the enemy forces of a neighboring kingdom. And as everything she loves is destroyed around her, she is forced to team up with the witch collector instead of killing him, because it turns out the situation is not quite what she thought it was, and working with him is the only way to help her sister. So the two of them set off through a forest that is littered with magical enchantments designed to protect against invaders, and they are navigating their way through it and trying to avoid enemies along the way as they slowly get to know each other more. So I did this one on audiobook, and I liked it. I didn't love it. I thought it was fun. I liked the setting of the kind of magical forest. It was cool to see the different enchantments that they were up against, and it felt kind of fairy tale-esque a little bit, which I like to see in a fantasy book. It felt different than just like a normal forest with monsters in it or something. So it was a cool concept, and I liked the concept of all the witches working together to create these constructs. I also really liked, so Reyna is non-verbal. She doesn't speak. She uses sign language to communicate, which I thought was really well done, the way that that was integrated into the story. It didn't feel like there was a disconnect in my understanding of Reyna at all. I think especially doing the audiobook, because you're in her perspective, so you're hearing her thoughts and you're hearing her voice, and it really comes through. But it's nice to see how many other characters spoke the sign language and it just wasn't a hindrance for her, as well as with a magic system that is based on singing, and like as a witch they use their voices to say their spells and sing their spells, and Reyna not having that, she is not hindered by having to use sign language. Instead, like, the magic still perfectly works with the sign language, which I thought was really cool. Yeah,
I understand why you didn't like it as much, because of the audio.
Yeah, that was the thing. It's like, maybe it's just me, but the dual narration, I didn't like the way the female narrator did Alexis's voice. First of all the male voices were the same. Like, the witch collector, the Frost King, and the villain, the Prince of the East, were all the same, and it came across as creepy to me. The voice sounded like the creepy advisor to the king, who's just kind of like in his ear being like, "Oh, but sire." Yes, like, and so I just found it really hard to...
Or Littlefinger.
Yes, yeah, not Goldfinger. Yeah.
Austin Powers.
Yes, like Littlefinger, exactly. So I just struggled with that. But the male narrator was great. Whenever it was Alexis's point of view, I was like, this is perfect. So I don't know. I am really curious how my perception would have been different if I had read the book. And I think if I did continue, I would want to read the next books. Even though...
How surprising was the quality of the spice, though?
It didn't feel like there was as much as I thought there was going to be.
Maybe you need to listen to the next one.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe it really picks up in the next one. Oh, actually, this might be my fault. By the time I got to the end of the book, there is a spice scene at the end, which is like the full spice scene. And I skipped. I was done by that point. I was like, I just don't care. I'm not invested in this romance.
Right. You don't get an opinion.
I listened to, there was like an earlier, you know how they do like not a half spice, but you know, they never go all the way the first time.
Half spice.
A halfway development spice. So I listened to that one, but I just, by the time I got to the end, I was like I don't want to hear this like creepy sounding Alexis being like, oh, Raina.
And, the audio for him was not the best, I must say.
Yeah.
I do recall that. But I really liked Raina.
Yes, that the female narrator did a great job on Raina's voice and on Nephili's voice and Hel. So, yeah. And the side characters were good. Yeah, Hel was a great character. I liked her friendship with Raina a lot, and just what we saw of Raina's villagers and her life at the beginning. So I think it was a good story. I think I also listened to this when I have not been in a romantic-y mood lately. And I think that also may have played a role. So to anybody listening, if you've been curious about this book, listen to Sarah, not me. Give it a chance. I definitely
maybe read it. Don't listen to it.
Yeah, I would recommend
similar
reading.
icks that Kyla has with audiobooks.
Exactly. And like by no means disliked it. I did like it. I didn't feel very strongly about it. I just kind of felt like, yeah, just another story, another, you know, like I wasn't emotionally invested in it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
What was your next one?
Next on my list was Julie Chan is Dead, which was written by Leanne Shang. And it is currently sitting at a 3.44 out of 50,000 ratings. It is her debut novel, which is very fun. And it's actually a very kind of interesting take, like a thriller take on twins switching spots, I suppose. Yeah. So it follows or opens with Julie Chan, who basically lives in poverty. And she has a twin sister who, when they were young, were separated by circumstances. Their parents passed away. And her twin sister, her name is Chloe Van Heusen, she ends up with a really affluent family. Julie, on the other hand, ends up with their aunt, who could only take one of the twins. And she lives a really hard life. So Julie is scraping by on, you know, paycheck to paycheck, not living the most glamorous of lives, when one day her very famous influencer twin sister shows up at her job and offers to buy her a house. So there's this like big reunion, and Chloe comes in and she's like, this is my poor twin sister. I'm going to buy her a house. She's vlogging it all, like, you know, making a big deal out of it. They go to the new house that the twin sister had bought for Julie. Then Julie never really hears from her again until one night she gets a really weird phone call from Chloe. And it sounds like Chloe's in distress. And Julie is like, well, I've got nothing to lose. Like, what am I going to do? So I'm going to go check on Chloe. And when she gets there, Chloe is dead.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. Influencer sister is dead. And Julie is like, WTF, what should I do? This is all in the synopsis, so I'm not giving much away here.
Okay.
But Julie is like, what should I do? And she's experiencing some trauma. And somehow, Julie ends up taking Chloe's place as the affluent influencer.
This is giving Yellowface, but
twins.
Yeah, but twins.
Like Parent Trap, Yellowface.
Yeah.
Very thrillery. So Julie is forced to assume Chloe's life and everything that it has to offer including the money and the influence and the et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So this story kind of picks up really with Julie assuming Chloe's life. Julie of the past is dead, and now Julie needs to figure out how to be Chloe. And the net is tightening. Obviously, she did not grow up as an influencer or affluent. And she is stuck in a very precarious game where she has to prove herself to be Chloe on the daily in front of millions of people.
Okay, and then she just pretends that Chloe's body was her own.
Exactly, yeah. But as the plot develops, she starts to realize that maybe Chloe died for nefarious reasons, and she might be next.
The fact that she didn't consider that at first. She just thought she randomly died.
Why is my twin sister dead? Yeah.
So, okay, question. When Chloe shows up and tells her she's going to give her a house, did they know each other at that point? Like, did she know she had an influencer twin sister out there?
Yes, she knew she had a twin sister because they were separated kind of like later in childhood. So she knew about her twin sister. She knew that she was an influencer. I don't think she knew like how rich she was, but she had an idea of the life that her sister got compared to her own.
Okay. So it wasn't just a total shock.
No, but buying a house for someone like is a pretty big shock. And Julie has this theory that Chloe only really did it for the views.
Yeah.
So when Chloe dies, she goes on a little snoop fest to see like how much Chloe made and like all that stuff.
Okay.
It's an interesting story, isn't it? Like,
yes. Yeah, it's kind of actually it's giving like Twitches meets Yellowface.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah. Overall good, and for a debut, pretty fascinating, like gripping story. Very suspenseful.
Okay. What do you think your rating is?
Yeah, I'm probably like working up to like a 3.75.
Oh, look at you. See, it's suitable sometimes.
Yeah, like kind of that in between.
Okay.
Maybe a 3.5.
Yeah, okay. Like solid, enjoyable read. Not life-changing, but good.
Yeah, dependable entertainment.
Nice. Yeah, I've seen this around a lot, so good to know what it's actually about.
Yeah. I would say it's like really short, so it's a nice quick read. And in general, if the pitfalls of influencerdom is appealing to you, I think it could be fun.
Yes.
What is next for you?
Okay, next up for me was Golden Sun by Pierce Brown. This one is the sequel to Red Rising, and Golden Sun has a 4.5 out of 514,000 ratings on Goodreads, and it was actually the winner for readers' favorite science fiction in 2015, which does not surprise me. You would have heard us talk about Red Rising last month, and we did do a whole separate episode on it, so if you are more interested in our full Red Rising thoughts, you can dabble on over there. But very briefly, what it's about is it's a futuristic world where humanity has divided itself into a caste system based on colors, where gold is the highest and red is the bottom of the barrel. And the main character, Darrow, has grown up living in an underground mine on Mars, where him and all of his community members are told that they are pioneering the planet. They are paving the way for the rest of humanity to come from Earth. They are mining the materials needed to make Mars habitable. And so they're on this noble mission, only for him to find out pretty early on in the story that he's been lied to, and Mars is already colonized, and so is the rest of the galaxy. And the Reds are just being used as slaves unknowingly. So Darrow kind of joins a rebellion and sets off to overthrow the gold caste slowly but surely. So really fun book. We loved Red Rising last month. I read book 2 this month. Absolutely loved it. Probably more than Red Rising. It just was so action packed. It felt like the entire book there was like a couple chapters near the beginning where it slowed down a little bit, but after that it was just off to the friggin' races. Okay. I could not put it down. So many things just back to back to back to back.
I'm obsessed.
Yeah, there was new characters, which was a fun development. There was just more political machinations. This one also, we mentioned briefly regarding Red Rising that Red Rising itself doesn't feel overly sci-fi. This book went 0 to 100. This one felt very sci-fi.
Yeah, I'm like 15% into this book and I'm already seeing more sci-fi vibes than Red Rising was.
Yeah, it comes through a lot more in this one, which was really fun because I think that going into the series, I expected more of the sci-fi vibe. So it's becoming a little bit more what I thought it was going to be. So yeah, I gave Golden Sun 5 stars. I think we will probably end up doing a Golden Sun episode to follow up our Red Rising episode, so stay tuned for that if you are intrigued for our spoiler-filled thoughts.
Spoiler-filled this time.
Very filled of spoilers it will be.
I was surprised. It's not necessarily like a huge spoiler, but I was surprised that it picked up so far away from the first book. Like, I thought we would get more of the in-between.
Yeah.
But the events of Golden Sun actually take place like a year and a bit, close to 2 years after the events or the main events of book 1.
Yeah, which I thought was interesting too. It kind of skipped a portion of the schooling, the academy that he was in. So yeah, there's like a brief bit at the beginning where I found I was kind of getting used to where we were in the story and the society, what's happened since we've been gone, what has changed, where is everybody, and what is Darrow doing now. So yeah, there was a bit of an adjustment because of the time jump, but I think once you get the grasp of it, it works well.
Yeah, I was just thinking back to our Red Rising predictions.
Oh.
A lot of which had a lot to do with that in-between period that we don't get to see.
Yeah, and then it's just like, oh, never mind. Didn't even matter.
Doesn't even matter. Carry on. But yeah, I'm super excited. I think this series is definitely going to be like a god tier series.
Oh, yeah. It's shooting right to the top of all-time favorite series for sure. I'm eagerly awaiting you finishing it so that we can talk all the details.
Yes. Yeah, I'm excited to talk about them too because I'm already quite invested and I think I am in the like lull of excitement. So I'm excited to see where this book goes for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so next on my list, and Kyla's actually, you'll be happy to know, is Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. This is a book that we have both been wanting to read for quite some time, but it's never really like made it to the top of the TBR. It is book number 1 in the Farseer trilogy, and it is currently sitting at a 4.19 out of 412,000 ratings. And it follows our male main character, Fitzchivalry Farseer. Try saying that 7,000 times fast.
And don't let the name discourage you either.
Yeah, you could call him Fitz. That's what we do. That's the name that we land on in the story. But his full name is Fitzchivalry Farseer, and he is a royal bastard. He is the son of Prince Chivalry in a kingdom where the royalty is named after their greatest attributes. So his father, being Chivalry, is known for his chivalry. Very fun. And it follows Fitz right from like boyhood up until adulthood and his making a name for himself in a world that acknowledges him as Chivalry's bastard and then continues to like not elevate him.
Yeah.
So he is pretty much discarded by both of his parents and life just kind of like happens to him as he gets older. So it's kind of like a coming of age story of Fitz navigating this world in which he doesn't really have a ton of autonomy, I would say, or ability to control his destiny per se. And it follows Fitz's journey to learning a variety of skills that he wouldn't have been able to learn if he was a true royal son. So he becomes skilled in a very taboo magic and known for his magical link to animals, which is called the Wit, because he doesn't really have family, he doesn't really have friends. He grows up with animals. He is a stable hand. He learns the art of stable handery. And in his solitude, he becomes friends with animals, horses, dogs. He has a variety of dogs throughout his life that become his main companions. And one day he is approached by the royal family to learn the art of the skill. And he is brought closer to the royal household to do so because this skill is inherent to his blood. And he's put through a variety of challenges that ultimately culminate in his elevation to the royal assassin, or at least like apprentice to the royal assassin.
Yeah.
And so he finds himself kind of like whisked away, and like all of the politics that come with being close to the royal family. Even though he's not part of the royal family.
Yeah, they're like, we acknowledge that you're here, but we're not officially acknowledging you as part of the family.
Yeah, like you're here and you're useful, but you're not one of us.
Yeah.
I.e. sleep in the stables.
Yeah.
And serve us. So yeah, Fitz is an interesting fella. I do like that you get to span his like entire childhood and early adulthood.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised by this one. Surprised in the pacing, because I thought with a title like Assassin's Apprentice that there would be a lot more assassin type stuff happening.
Mm-hmm.
But it really is like meandery. It's a character study. It is the everyday life of Fitz as a royal bastard growing up. And so this one is not for the plot people, but if you are a heavy plot driven person, I don't want to say you wouldn't like it, because like I loved it. I thought it was great.
Yeah. Also to note, and something to be mindful of, like it's told from the perspective of Fitz in his later life. Like it's an account of his life by him over the years. So the narration is kind of interesting. You get like not quite omnipresent narration, but a little bit more like third person omni-ish narration. Like you get the perk of hindsight, I suppose.
Yes. Yeah. It's like talking about when he was a young boy, but there are occasionally some remarks that are made that are more overarching or like more wise coming from the older Fitz.
The older Fitz. Yeah. One thing that we both loved was the relationship to the animals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was really well done.
The use of the wit was a really interesting magic, and it will only evolve because this is the first in a 16-book interconnected series.
Yep.
So there's a lot to consume in this world. It's also, to note, from 1995. So it's got some like unique elements that would be characteristic of high fantasy novels from the 90s, which is kind of interesting. It's not what we typically consume on the podcast, so it was nice to step outside of that modern day romantasy fantasy genres.
But I did find, regarding the time period that it was published, because I had a slight worry going in that the writing would be reflective of an older time, and that not that the 90s were that long ago, but like I thought maybe the text would be denser, or it would just be not as engaging, not as easy to read for some reason. And I didn't find that to be the case at all. Like I found it really smooth prose.
Yes, I found it smooth prose. And I also found like, nobody come for me, but authors from that era, like male authors from that era, to me are a little bit like, they write kind of in a way that I don't necessarily like relate to or appreciate, I suppose. Whereas I felt like this was a very like objective narration, like an objective story when it comes to the role of women in fantasy.
Yes. Yeah, and it is interesting because it is a female author writing a male main character who is surrounded largely by male characters. So yeah, I think it was really balanced well.
Yes. Yeah, which is not always an easy balance to strike. So
yeah,
it was something to be of note, especially like a boy as well, and all of the like challenges of coming of age as a male. I found that very interesting.
Yeah.
That felt like it was captured well.
Yeah, I agree. And I just like, you know, I finished the book and I was like, wow, I really enjoyed that book. It's been about a week, but I have been thinking about it since then. I'm getting just a crap ton of posts about it on my suggested posts on Instagram and stuff. There's a song that people keep using in their posts about the series. And now the song is getting stuck in my head, and it's a Noah Kahan song. So it's kind of like hits you in the feels a little bit. So I'm over here like just developing this higher emotional connection to the story while I'm not even reading it right now. So I'm diving into book 2 like ASAP, like next.
Really?
Like I need to read it. That's how I'm feeling. I need to read it more than I need to read Morning Star, even though the ending of Golden Sun was wild.
What did you end up giving Assassin's Apprentice? I don't remember.
I gave it 4 stars, so not even like off the charts. Like I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really solid, but just something about it has been calling to me.
It does feel like the kind of book that becomes a part of you.
Yeah. Something about the song too that people keep using that I'm now
What song is it?
It's The View Between Villages or something.
Sure.
I think that's what it's called. It's kind of a sentimental song, and so now I've like mentally attached it to this series. And everybody who posts about the series online, a lot of these people have read all 16 books, and so they are like mega nostalgic and in their feels from like this universe that they've just completed. So I think I'm just like craving that. I just want to be a part of this whole like beautiful universe story.
Yeah, I do feel that. And I can imagine like we just scraped the surface on Fitz's life, to be honest. Like we really didn't get far in his journey.
Yes. Yeah. We only got to like age 15, I think. So we've got a ways to go for him. And I think the way it goes is like every other series in the universe is about Fitz. So it's like Fitz, then a different series about a different part of the world, and then Fitz again, and then another different part of the world, and then Fitz again. But it all ties together.
Interesting.
Yeah. But overall, really liked it and very much recommend it.
Yes. And you will see some additional content. Like we go deeper into this story with our first collab with Spells from the Shelf. So keep an eye out for that. If you have read this book, there is a larger segment about the book and our opinions on it, including some spoilers. If you have or have not, we let you know, of course, when the spoilers are coming. So check that out.
Okay, my last book that I read in March was The Princess Knight by Kate Jacobs. This one has a 3.56 out of almost 7,000 ratings on Goodreads. It just came out last fall, so it's doing pretty good so far. And if you have not heard about this book, the pitch is Legally Blonde, but make it medieval knights. Have I captured your interest?
Maybe.
Basically, we have Princess Clea, who has expected her whole life that she will one day be betrothed to the prince of the neighboring kingdom. They are good friends. They've met many times. She doesn't love him. She doesn't have romantic feelings towards him, but she's like, you know what? This is what my kingdom needs for this alliance. And I think I'm going to have a pretty good deal in life being able to be married to somebody that I do like as a person. So when the day comes that he is traveling to her kingdom, and her and literally her whole kingdom are prepared for him to propose officially, he shows up and he tells her that he actually can't marry her because he needs a warrior as a wife. And because his kingdom on the opposite side of the continent are getting hit by these raids from people from a different continent in ships. So kind of like pirate raids along their coast. They're fighting and trying to survive. And he's like, look, my kingdom is almost at war and I need a warrior to be able to defend my people. You're not that. Like, you are a great person, but you are meant for dances and feasts and ball gowns, and you're not strong enough to defend my people, kind of thing. And so she is quite upset by this. And I think it was a bit of a wake-up call for her as well, because it's not that she was weak, it's just that she grew up being told that this is what she needed to be as a princess, that a good princess is, you know, demure and polite and stays in her lane. And so this was a bit of a wake-up call for her. And so the prince, who just broke up with her, is headed to a prestigious military academy. He's going to train to get kind of this certification that deems him good at battle. And so she decides that she's going to go too, because she has something to prove, and she also intends to show him that she can be a warrior and hopefully get the betrothal back for her kingdom. When she gets there, though, it turns out to be a little harder than she expected, and she spends more and more time with the prince's captain of the guard, who has started training her along on the side to try and get her up to speed and stuff, and they're spending more and more time together, and they actually have some commonalities in terms of like being driven and having something to prove and stuff. So it's a good little romance. It is fun. It sounds like a rom-com with a fantasy filter over top, but it actually had a good amount of world building and plot going on. So I would say like this is fully a fantasy book, but it felt a little bit more lighthearted than the usual romantasy we read. The whole world was inspired by Irish culture and lore and stuff, which was really fun, and that came through in the names of the characters and just like the scenery and lots of different things. So if you are a fan of kind of like an Irish, Scottish, Celtic medieval fantasy, you're gonna like this one. And if you like the movie Legally Blonde, like that's what it promises and that's what it delivers. So
nice. That sounds interesting. What did you rate it?
I gave it 4 stars. I had fun reading it. It was a good, genuine romance. It was a fun plot. You have the training kind of montages. You've got quests into dangerous places. You have battle. So it was a good mix of everything, I found.
Nice.
And I really liked the main character. She was very strong. Like I really admired her strength of character and her growth journey and everything. So yeah, I definitely recommend it.
Nice.
But that is everything we have for you for our March books. If you've read any of those or if they're on your TBR, let us know. Reach out to us on Instagram at paperback.ponderings. We'd love to chat more with you. And we will see you next week.